Oh, yeah. hmm Seemed like education was very important. The teacher did not sit in a chair while the pupils, yes, sat on the ground, but all either sat on chairs or on the ground. It was one or the other, right? The teacher sat on the ground if the student sat on the ground, but the teacher sat on the chair if the student sat on the chair. These schools, it seems like it's really important. I've emailed a lot of schools and they seem to think that it's okay for students to be in the wrong grades. And as a father, I'd like to know what sex education my sons have been taught. Now, I know, okay, you're a school educator and there's this feeling like you have to tell them everything about sex so that you can leave nothing to their imagination. You tell all the women about the 5 different orgasms they can have in the 6th grade and how they accomplish those. And you tell all the male students about wet dreams and why it is that their bodies make sperm. You don't have to tell them about anal sex, do you? I mean, really? Oh, well, as a homosexual, how do you find out about that? They have to teach you about it. Somehow I think you've been lying to students about the truth of when they can get pregnant. Ovulation, menstruation. Oh, you've been lying. Somebody has an agenda about what they think is important in sex education. I'd like to look at the curriculum that my sons have been seeing. Because I tell you, it looks to me like parents were in constant contact with their children. Yes. And in the early ages, most of the instruction of young children was by the parents. Yeah. Now, a town in which there are no schools must perish. Our principal care is to educate the children. Yes. Well, as I see it, your principal care is not to educate my sons. Now, this morning, I'm going to look at what's known as the seat. That place that you sit every day when you make the decisions for the population. Yeah. I understand there's 65 cases of measles in Washington state. My question was, how many students are there? And then there's a vaccination where you no longer can use your personal intellectual ability to make decisions about your own students. For every individual that wanted the state to do what they said, I'd like to know what your actual education is. It seems that college educated parents are misinformed about the use of vaccinations. Yes. And only government employees know the real truth about them. Because I do look at television once in a while and seem like a lot of the concerned citizens are actually college or university educated. Excuse me, doctor. You know what the difference between a 4-year bachelor's degree is and a 4-year doctorate degree is? 4 years. Poop. Now, if I looked at what I did the 4 years after I got my bachelor's degree and I looked at what you did after you got your doctorate, I'd have to really question your academia because you seem to think that the educated parents are stupid. Now, could you get me those vaccinations this morning? Because when Washington State says, well, you can no longer opt out of the requirements for vaccination because you're educated. It, well, I know as a parent, it has to be religious. Ooch. You have to say that you're Mormon, Jehovah Witness, or you're Buddhist. Yes. And you can't just think about what's going on in your children's lives. You have to have the measles vaccination. In fact, you have to have all 72 live vaccinations before they go to school. Yes. Could you get me the Thermosol? The live chicken viruses that are used to manufacture. See, I did study, and even though I'm not employed in government, yes, I do have a bachelor's degree. I'm going to want to know the vaccination records of each child, and then those that had the measles, yeah, they didn't have any. Now, I know you're upset today, but you seem to think that the population's uneducated and only government fucking employees right now. have any fucking idea about what this shit is. One of the things you do learn when you do go to college or university, yeah, you learn how to research it yourself. You learn how to distrust the manufactured propaganda of those in the vaccine industry. And then you look at your little child and you say, well, I don't think your immune system is ready for that many vaccinations from the age of birth to 6 years old. Now, I know you have a schedule of vaccinations that academics that have PhDs have studied exactly when these things should be given to children. But the truth is, it seemed like they were wanting to inoculate them at very, very young age. Now, I'm thinking I challenge it, not because of religion, but because of education. So if I looked at the actual academic degrees of those citizens, I'm going to sue the fuck out of this state right now because your academia thinks that the parents of students are uneducated. Pooch! Give me the vaccination records of every child, where it's manufactured, and the effect of mercury or thimerosal in their blood supply. And then I'd like to know, this chicken, yeah, that's used